Get ready for a deep dive into some seriously profound ideas about life and death and, the whole meaning of it all. We're looking at a commentary on Ecclesiastes Chapter 9 today.
Oh, yeah?
That part of the Bible that grapples with, the essence of human existence.
Yeah, it's a fascinating chapter because it kind of dives right into this paradox,
Mm.
like, you know, does the fact that we all die,
Mm.
does that make us equal?
Mm.
Or do our actions, like, still even matter if everything eventually fades away?
It's a question that has resonated with people for centuries.
For sure.
And today, we're going to unpack that together.
Absolutely.
Here.
The chapter starts off by presenting this idea of death as like a great equalizer.
Right.
It points out that regardless of how we live our lives, good or bad, righteous or wicked, whatever, we all end up in the same place.
It's definitely a sobering thought. But what I find interesting is that the commentary doesn't just accept this idea of equality, like at face value. It pushes back, suggesting that our mortality actually makes it even more important to find meaning and purpose in life.
Absolutely. You see, the commentators arguing that knowing our time is limited, that should inspire us to make the most of our lives. It's a call to think carefully about, our impact on the world and on our relationships, on everything we touch, really.
So it's not just about accepting death as the end, but about recognizing that our actions have this ripple effect, an effect that extends far beyond our own lifespan.
Exactly. It's recognizing the weight of our choices, even in a world where everything eventually fades. But then Ecclesiastes throws this curveball.
Oh.
Right after this call to find meaning, it kind of pivots
Okay.
and offers some seemingly contradictory advice. It tells us to enjoy the simple things in life, like good food, drink, nice clothes, companionship. It even uses the word bourgeois to describe this lifestyle.
That's such a fascinating juxtaposition. On one hand, we're urged to make a lasting impact, and then on the other, we're encouraged to embrace, the pleasures of the here and now.
Right.
It almost makes you wonder if Ecclesiastes is contradicting itself.
It's a tension that lies at the heart of the text, and one that the commentator explores in depth. It's not about choosing one path or the other, but it's about recognizing the value in both.
So finding a balance between seeking lasting meaning and enjoying those fleeting moments of joy.
Precisely. Life is this complex tapestry, woven with threads of joy and sorrow, achievement and disappointment.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes seems to be suggesting that we should embrace all of it, to savor those simple pleasures while also striving to make a positive contribution to the world.
It's like saying we can enjoy a delicious meal with friends, but we can also think about how that meal strengthens our bonds.
Yeah.
And supports the local farmers who grew the food.
That's a great example. It's about finding meaning not just in grand gestures, but in the everyday moments that make up our lives. But just when we think we're starting to grasp this balance, Ecclesiastes throws us another curveball. A story about a wise man who saves a city but is quickly forgotten.
Yes. The forgotten wise man.
Right.
This is where it gets really interesting.
For sure.
We have this wise man who uses his knowledge to protect his community from this powerful king. He makes a significant contribution, and yet he just fades into obscurity, completely unacknowledged.
It's such a powerful image.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder. If even acts of great wisdom can be forgotten, what does that say about the lasting impact of our choices?
Right.
Is Ecclesiastes saying that it ultimately doesn't matter what we do?
It seems to challenge the whole idea of leaving a legacy, of making a difference that stands the test of time. And yet, right after this story, we encounter one of the most thought-provoking passages in the entire chapter.
Ecclesiastes 9:17-18, where we find these powerful words. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouts of a ruler of fools.
It's almost a whisper, but it carries so much weight.
I know, right?
It seems to be praising wisdom, even as it acknowledges that wisdom often goes unnoticed.
It's a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the commentator suggests that the key lies in how we listen to wisdom. True wisdom doesn't need to shout or demand attention. It speaks softly but persistently,
Okay.
prompting us to pay attention, even when its message is challenging or inconvenient.
Think about how often we dismiss wise advice just because it doesn't align with our desires or our preconceived notions.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes is reminding us that true wisdom requires a calm and thoughtful ear,
Absolutely.
a willingness to engage with ideas that might initially seem frustrating or perplexing. It makes me wonder, if we were to apply this idea to the story of the forgotten wise man, Could it be that his wisdom did have a lasting impact, even if it wasn't immediately apparent?
That's a great question, and one that I think we'll explore further as we continue to delve into this chapter.
Okay.
Because right after praising the quiet words of the wise Ecclesiastes, throws in one final thought-provoking line. It adds another layer to this complex tapestry of ideas. That final line, one sinner destroys much good. It brings us right back to that central tension we've been talking about.
Yeah.
The equality of death versus the impact of individual choices.
It's almost like a counterpoint to the story of the wise man.
Right.
One person's wisdom can kind of have a ripple effect, but one person's negative actions can also create harm, widespread harm.
Precisely. It highlights this potential within each person, for good and for bad. And Ecclesiastes doesn't try to resolve this. Like, it doesn't tell us to focus on the good or ignore the bad.
So it's urging us to hold both of these ideas at the same time, to live with this awareness that even though we all end up in the same place, our actions have consequences along the way.
Yeah. Consequences that could be positive and negative.
It's a call to action almost, like to live with intention, recognizing that even though death is this great equalizer, how we live has a lasting impact.
Exactly.
It makes me think about the forgotten wise man differently now. Maybe his wisdom did have a lasting impact, even if it wasn't public.
That's a really good point. Maybe his actions started a chain of events that continued to help the city, even after he was gone. Or maybe his wisdom changed the people around him in ways they didn't even realize.
It's like a pebble thrown into a pond,
Yeah.
It makes ripples.
And those ripples can keep spreading even after the pebble has sunk to the bottom.
So even though he was forgotten, his actions could have had a lasting impact, an impact that went beyond his own life.
For sure.
This really makes me think about all the people throughout history who made big contributions, but whose names are lost.
Think of the inventors and the artists and activists.
Right.
Their work shaped our world, even if we don't know their names.
It's a reminder that a legacy isn't always about fame. It's about making a positive impact, even if it seems small.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to that question from the beginning. Does our mortality make us equal? Or do our choices matter?
It seems like Ecclesiastes is giving us something more than just a yes or no answer.
It's asking us to think about how complex human existence really is. To realize that even though death is inevitable, the choices we make matter.
So how does this change how we think about our own choices and actions? What kind of legacy do we want to leave knowing that our time is limited?
Those are the questions we should all be asking. And they really get to the heart of why Ecclesiastes is so interesting. It doesn't give us easy answers. It challenges us to really think about the meaning of life, about good and evil, about our impact on the world.
It reminds us that life is precious and fleeting. But that doesn't mean it's meaningless. Instead, it's telling us to live with intention, to appreciate the simple pleasures, to try and make a positive difference, even if our efforts go unnoticed.
And maybe it's also encouraging us to be more compassionate, more forgiving, of ourselves and others, to accept that we all make mistakes, that we're all capable of good and bad, that life is about learning and growing and becoming better.
It's a powerful message, and one that resonates with all of us, I think. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Ecclesiastes, I want to leave you with this. If we embrace the idea that our actions have a lasting impact beyond our own lives, how does that change how we approach each day? Does it make us more mindful of our choices? Does it inspire us to be kinder, to pursue our passions with more purpose?
That's something each of us has to answer for ourselves. But I think by engaging with these ideas, we can start to live more meaningful lives. Not because we're afraid of death, but because we understand how precious life is and the potential we have to make a difference.
We hope you found this deep dive thought-provoking. We hope you continue to explore these ideas and to discover what they mean for you on your own journey.
Until next time.
Keep diving. If we embrace the idea that our actions have a lasting impact beyond our own lives, how does that change how we approach each day? Does it make us more mindful of our choices? Does it inspire us to be kinder, to pursue our passions with more purpose?
That's something each of us has to answer for ourselves. But I think by engaging with these ideas, we can start to live more meaningful lives. Not because we're afraid of death, but because we understand how precious life is and the potential we have to make a difference.
We hope you found this deep dive thought-provoking. We hope you continue to explore these ideas and to discover what they mean for you on your own journey.
Until next time.
Keep diving.